So Football Manager 25 might have been delayed. Just a teeny weeny little bit. It got delayed 5 months until March of 2025. Fortunately, there is now a way for you to be able to play FM25, essentially, on FM24. This is how. You have to be in touch with the Football Manager modding community, which if you're not familiar with it, it's actually quite large and voluptuous. It's wonderful. You can find modifications that can invert the British League system for you, which is awesome. And you can also find modifications that can install something called the Prime Football Group, which is not awesome. But there are a lot of these things out there, and a lot of different modders that work on things called data updates. For example, a transfer update or something that updates the leagues that clubs are in, because the thing that, you guys invented, promotion and relegation. I'm American. I don't believe in promotion and relegation. I believe in freedom and miles and feet.
Oh, hell no, man. What the?
Not the picture kind. Sorry, I got a little carried away. My bad. But with Football Manager 25 being pushed back 5 months, a couple of the major community-driven sites around Football Manager, namely FM Inside and FM Scout, have rallied the banners. They've gotten a bunch of these different modders to work together and get all of their files into one thing that you can download so that you have all of the updated data of the football world this year in last year's Football Manager game. But what are you getting? Well, an FM Scouts package, which is called FM24 to FM25 DLC. But hold on, you don't have to pay. There's no money changing hands at all. This DLC is free. I know DLC is a trigger word for a lot of people. I play Paradox games. DLC, that will send me in a mental spiral, but this is not one of those. They just put it in the title. But on FM Scouts, you get the transfer update, which is made by FMtransferupdate.com, which in itself makes 123,582 changes, which is a lot of changes, right? These are all the transfers, all the loans that happened in the summer window to get you updated for FM25, or what would be FM25. For the 2024-2025 season, you know what I'm talking about, and I am not good enough at talking to keep saying it. Then they also grabbed the promotions, relegations, and updated EU places made by Notorious Pro, and one change from Sir Tavares, who's also working on the FM Scout pack. They made the changes for Brazil. So this aligns all of the clubs in the appropriate leagues based off of promotion and relegation, and awards European competition or continental competition spots in other continents to the appropriate clubs. They've also included the Notorious Pros competition changes, so you get the updated Champions League format and things like that. Although, apparently, according to this, there are some limitations in the hard-coded set of the game to prevent it from being 100% recreated, but you are able to play in a more updated European competition format. And then there's the crazy stuff that perhaps you didn't even know people were doing, mainly because I didn't really know people were doing this. They've included a file by Sir Tavares that is new Wonder Kids. That's 175 new Wonder Kids that are introduced into Football Manager in the way they would be on an FM25 game. Wonder Kids that weren't age appropriate or relevant enough to be included in the game last year that would now be included in your FM24, making it even more like FM25. Sir Tavares lists every single one of the players that is included, and they have included perhaps my favorite Wonder Kid. The American that's already signed for Manchester City at 14, Cavan Sullivan, is one of the over 150, I think it's 175 players that's added. I really can just go look. 175 players. But now that the logistics are out of the way, there's the ability changes, because obviously at the start of Football Manager 24, Cole Palmer is not rated nearly as highly as he will be when FM25 releases in 2030. So they've used the Notorious Pros ability changes to current ability and potential ability for a whole host of players. These are of course subjective, but they are designed to reflect players' performances in 2023-2024. The FM Scout edition also comes with 2 optional files, one that wipes out all injuries and suspensions for players that are obviously not suspended or injured anymore, and one that advances the age of players and reduces the length of their contracts, which of course you've advanced a year into the future. How could we have an authentic FM25 and FM24 if we don't advance the ages in the contracts? Just so you're aware of both, on FM Insides, you're going to get a lot of the same stuff, but there are some differences. They update the promotions and relegations, they update the transfers, they update the CA and PA of players, the ability of players. What FM Inside has done has included a couple of other different fun things you might want on top of this. They've included as part of the update a fully compatible England down to tier 10 database. They've also added missing players and missing staff to the database, including the full Ajax staff. They've also added a lot of the real name fixes, which if you don't have, you definitely should have, like real competition cup and club names, real media sources, real agents and clients. All of those things are included in their package here. And the last big bit is they've added the Around the World Mega Pack, which is going to give you over 200 nations to play with on FM24, just pretending that FM25 all of a sudden adds a lot more nations to begin with. So that's a part of this as well. So if you go with FM Scout, you're going to get some new Wonder Kids. You're going to be able to advance the ages, advance the contracts, wipe out injuries and suspensions and those things. If you go with the FM Inside version, you can get a lot of the real name fixes. You can fill in some missing players and have access to a level 10 England database in the Around the World expansion. Of course, if you know how to mod, you can try and find these separately and pick them up. And a huge shout out to everybody credited as part of the FM Inside group. They don't really align exactly what each person worked on, but the FM editor, FM Inside themselves, and a couple of other people that helped put all of this together to make all of our lives better. But now to actually install them, because a lot of people that have never modded Football Manager are definitely going to want this. On FM Scout, you're just going to want to click download now. It'll take a few seconds and then the download will start. Once it's been downloaded, you're going to want to unzip the file. Then once you've unzipped the file, you can open it and you see like 19 things in here. One is an invitation to pre-purchase FM25. They put together an amazing thing, so I'm not going to blame them for promoting that, but I would recommend that you wait, obviously. Now, the two optional things on FM Scout are included in this, so you don't have to do anything extra to get those. I haven't done one of these sorts of tutorials in a while. Feels like old times, huh? Next, you're going to want to go to Documents, find Sports Interactive, then you find Football Manager 2024, and there should already be a folder there called Editor Data. Then you want to drag it over. As you can see, I already have. This is the exact same place you're going to want to put the downloaded zip file that you got from FM Inside if that's the direction you want to go as well. But they do take pains to point out that you want to remove older versions of these types of files if you have them already. So let's say you have a data update or any of these things, maybe even the England level 10 database. You're going to want to get rid of those files before adding in new updated ones. But once they're in the editor data folder, you just need to go to start a new game, career, and then in the top right, there's this section called database. You want to make sure you're on 24.3 update. You do not want to be on Football Manager 2024 original. That will cancel out some of the additions from both of these. Now, if you're like me and you're an absolute psycho that has a ton of things in editor data already, this can get a little more confusing, but you want to make sure that you have all of the things from that folder ticked. Now, it's very convenient because the vast majority of them start with FM24, except for a few, like this, you want to make sure those are selected. And a few that start with parentheses, at least coming from the FM Scout page. So once those are all selected and no other editor data stuff is selected. Look, you can technically add other editor data stuff, but if they conflict, which is very likely they will if you don't know what you're doing, then you don't want to have it selected because then you won't be able to start the game. But if you're adding in like the Azerbaijani League and you're not doing the FM Inside one, you're just adding some separate Azerbaijani League database, you can do that and add it on top of everything else. But honestly, you're making enough changes here, and that's not the point of this video. So from there, you can just set your game up as you would. You're good. If it takes a little longer to load than normal, that is to be expected. You just made like a billion changes to the database. Set it up how you want it, start the game. But I really just want to see Cole Palmer's attributes. So if we look at Cole Palmer, he is now 22. His contract still ends at the appropriate time, which is until 2032 because Chelsea has a problem. But his attributes, if you weren't familiar with them last year, are much better. And changes have been made, like Dominic Solanke is now on Tottenham, and so on and so, the other 132,000 plus. Of course, you don't need any of this when you play in the Brazilian third division, which is what I'm doing on Twitch right now. I just started a new save because, well, we all have to pass the time in our own way. I'll see you on stream. But a huge shout out to these community sites and a huge shout out to the database makers that have set all of this up. And I hope that you finding out through this video that you can do this or learning how to do it is going to make your FM24 stay that much more enjoyable as we all wait for FM25 to come out in 2047. If you want to watch how the Premier League plays out after this data update, I've got you. I've made that video. It's right there. And I'll see you guys on stream. Have a good one. Wow, that was just a nice, wholesome video. Back to my OnlyFans.